Now, in the last 2 weeks, we also had the 44 recommendations be accepted by the RFL that was aimed to make the game safer going forward. I guess, what's your initial reaction?
Well, let me ask you, Jake, because you've played the game more recently than I have.
Yeah.
Do you think tackling below the armpit will make the game safer?
Absolutely not. And
you don't think so?
No, absolutely not. I read through the recommendations and the rule changes, and I think it's nonsense. And I hate to be so anti things that will help the players, but when you think about, and I know from experience just growing up playing football, most of my head knocks or concussions and a lot of my teammates always came from an act in defence. So going low, getting your head in the wrong position.
And getting a knee in your head.
Yeah, a knee or a hip to the temple, or going
or
around
an elbow.
That's right, or going around a ball runner with a teammate, and then having a head clash with your teammates, that sort of thing. And the thing is, I think that this tackling below the armpit rule will be really tough to officiate. It's going to cause a number of headaches for referees. There's going to be a lot of colourful press conferences from coaches arguing that some tackles weren't below the shoulders or some were. And the thing that worries me is for players, I'll bring up Brandon Smith for an example, who when he runs the ball, he tends to drop his head as he goes into the defensive line. How is a player like Nelson Asafa-Solomona going to be able to get low enough?
Particularly near the try line.
That's right.
When a player like Brandon Smith is heading, 5 metres out, lowers his body to touchdown.
That's right.
How are you going to? It's going to be almost impossible to stop him.
Well, another example is I find the way Jack Wellesby runs the ball. He sort of runs very sort of hunched over almost and head down, and he's a shorter player, you would say, in the Super League. How is a big, tall front rower, second rower going to be able to avoid getting over the shoulder sort of tackles?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about the new rules in one sense is that they won't be introduced into Super League until 2025. Next year, we're going to have them in academy and age grade rugby and in the community game as well. So we will be able to see how they work in that context before the rules are brought into first grade rugby league in this country. So that's going to be quite important. If they need to make any amendments to those rules, then at least they'll have the chance to see how they operate, won't they? But yeah, and the other thing that worries me about this new interpretation of tackle rules, what happens when we play international games? Because the NRL, so far as I can tell, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, the NRL haven't shown any obvious inclination to copy what the RFL is doing.
Yeah, not at this stage, I don't believe.
So if and when we play Australia, perhaps in 2025, what rules will we be playing to? Because it's really important to have the rules clarified and generally agreed and accepted, isn't it, for international games? And that's going to take quite a bit of doing, I think.
No, absolutely. And as I said, you would be the same. We're all for protecting the player.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The reality of the matter is that some of these long-term side effects that retired players are experiencing, it isn't from the one big knockout where they've been out cold and then had to leave the field. It's from the repeated hitting the line, and it doesn't even have to be contact at the head. It can just be the whiplash and the brain moving in the skull and shaking around. It's like, I think the sad reality is anyone that's played rugby league from the age of 5 through till their mid-20s, I believe that later in life there will be some sort of side effects, whether it's memory loss or some sort of ramifications from playing contact sport.
There might be, but it does tend to differ from person to person, doesn't it? And you find some players who can live till their 90s and be as unaffected by side effects as you could imagine, whereas others will start showing side effects at a much earlier age.
Yeah, that's right.
And the thing that strikes me really is, would there be a way, for example, for any of us, you or me or anybody else who wanted to play rugby league, to have a head scan or a brain scan to determine whether our brain was particularly susceptible to being affected in that sort of way, because as I say, there is a differential. Sorry, I've just got a bit of a cold and a bit of a cough, so so there is a differential between different people, and I think that's quite important.
No, absolutely.